$5 million HVAC company in Dallas was losing $250,000 every year, not to a bad hire, not to a failed expansion, to a phone that rang and went unanswered. Rescue Air and Plumbing was booking at 40%. Every call their team couldn't take was at minimum $250 gone. Some were $30,000. 2 MIT graduates showed up in 2023 and offered to fix it for free. 3 months later, Rescue Air's booking rate hit 85%. 3 years after that, the software those two built around Rescue Air's exact problem was worth $1 billion, and Rescue Air was still running it. Rescue Air and Plumbing sits on Greenville Avenue in Dallas, a family business built over 2 decades by Michael Hirsch and Josh Campbell, an uncle and nephew team who grew up working in the trade together. Michael had spent more than 20 years in HVAC with a focus on operations and customer management. Josh was a third-generation mechanical contractor. They understood the work, they understood the market, and they understood their customers. The company merged its HVAC operation with Texas Green Plumbing to become Rescue Air and Plumbing. By the time this story begins, they were serving more than 7,000 customers across the Dallas-Fort Worth area with 21 employees. That sounds like a success. And in most respects, it was. But in the home services industry, the phone line is not a convenience. It is the point of sale. Every incoming call is a customer in some form of discomfort. A system making noise it shouldn't. An air conditioner failing in a Texas summer. A pipe leaking at 2 in the morning. The moment they pick up the phone, they are ready to spend. When Rescue Air's team couldn't take a call, during a surge, during a shift overlap after hours, that call disappeared. Not to voicemail in any useful sense, just gone. The industry standard figure for a missed service call is $250. But for an HVAC company handling full system replacements, a single missed call could represent a $30,000 installation. Rescue Air was answering enough calls to stay busy. What they didn't know was how many they were missing and what that silence was actually costing them. In 2023, 2 MIT graduates named Tyson Chen and Apurva Shrivastava were building answering software for restaurants. The idea was straightforward. When a host was busy, an AI agent would pick up, handle the inquiry, and book the table. The economics were reasonable. A missed restaurant call might cost $30 or $40. Then they had a chance encounter with Rescue Air in Dallas. They spent an afternoon there. Josh Campbell walked them through what a missed call actually costs in HVAC. Not $30, not $40, $30,000, sometimes $40,000. Chen and Shrivastava had their pivot moment in that conversation. They later recalled that within a few hours, they understood. If they could solve this problem well for a company like Rescue Air, the scale of the opportunity was completely different from anything they had been building. They offered Rescue Air a proposition. Let them build a product specifically for the company over the next 3 months. No generic template. A system trained on Rescue Air's actual call types. HVAC triage, plumbing emergencies, routine scheduling, after-hours overflow. The AI would answer every call, assess urgency, access technician schedules, and book directly into the CRM. A second component, an agent coaching tool, would deliver real-time feedback to Rescue Air's human CSRs after every conversation. This pattern, AI inbound call answering combined with real-time agent coaching, was not yet standard in the trades. What Rescue Air agreed to was a genuine pilot, built around their specific operation. On paper, this was a reasonable bet on an unproven product from 2 people they had just met. But there was something nobody in that room calculated. Rescue Air was still losing money on unanswered calls. But somewhere between week 2 and week 6 of the pilot, something else entirely was taking shape in that Dallas office. Chen and Shrivastava were not just building software for Rescue Air, they were documenting everything. Every call handled, every booking captured, every urgency flag that fired correctly, every verifiable outcome that a second customer, a real HVAC company with its own skeptical operations manager, would actually believe. No seed round buys what they were accumulating. A live deployment inside a real business under real conditions, producing real numbers. Not a prototype, not a white paper, a $5 million HVAC company's inbound call operation as a working proof of concept. By the time the 3 months ended, they had something else too, a name for what they were building, Avoca, and Rescue Air had helped them find its first several customers. The software worked. Rescue Air's call quality score rose from 40% to 95%. Booking rate stabilized at 85%. 400 calls per week, AI managing overflow and after hours, no additional headcount. 2 CSRs, developed through the coaching tool, promoted to managerial roles. Neither position backfilled. These were the results Rescue Air had signed up for. What they hadn't signed up for What nobody in that first Dallas conversation had calculated was what those results were quietly worth to someone else. Rescue Air was not trying to build an industry. They were trying to stop missing calls. But the precision with which they had named their problem turned out to be exactly what 800 companies after them needed to hear first. Avoca went on to serve more than 800 companies. In April 2026, it raised $125 million at a $1 billion valuation, backed by Kleiner Perkins, Meritech, and General Catalyst. The company that started in a Dallas HVAC shop's afternoon conversation was now the category leader for AI agents in home services. Rescue Air and Plumbing is still running Avoca. They were among the first. They helped shape what the product became, and the numbers that made their case study compelling. 40% call quality rising to 95, booking rate at 85%, 2 internal promotions without backfilling, eventually described what was possible for the 800 companies that followed. The relatable anchor for a home services business doing $3 million in annual revenue and missing 5 calls per day at $250 each. That is $325,000 per year that never enters the booking system. That is more than one full technician's annual loaded cost. It is a service van, fully equipped, sitting idle. Rescue Air's booking rate improvement alone, from 40% to 85%, effectively doubled the revenue yield from every call their team took. What the story reveals is something the trades industry has been slow to name. The phone line is not an administrative function. It is the front end of the revenue cycle. The moment a call goes unanswered in a home services business, the customer does not wait. They call the next number on the list. Rescue Air and Plumbing did not set out to build a case study. They set out to stop losing money to a silent phone. What they did differently from a business that would have hired another CSR and hoped for better coverage is that they named the problem precisely. Not, we missed some calls. Not, our call quality could be better. They knew their booking rate. They knew the dollar value of a missed call at HVAC scale. They had articulated the constraint clearly enough that 2 people could spend 3 months solving it specifically for them. That precision is the counterfactual. A business that vaguely knows it has a phone problem hires a person and moves on. A business that has quantified the phone problem finds an AI solution immediately compelling because the diagnosis matches what they already know is true. Rescue Air's phone line is the same line it always was. The calls come from the same customers across the same DFW suburbs. What changed was what happened when the phone rang, and what that change revealed about every company in the industry that still hasn't run the numbers. Do you know your booking rate on inbound calls? Not your close rate on quoted jobs, but the percentage of incoming calls that result in a booked appointment. If you don't know whether your revenue problem is a demand problem or a phone problem. When your team is at capacity, where do your overflow calls go? And do you know what happens to them? If you calculated the dollar value of every call your business didn't answer last week, would that number change any decisions you are currently making? Don't click away yet. See that video on my left? Click it right now. The next story shows what happens when a business fixes the right constraint first, or the wrong one. You need to see this. Click that video and keep watching.